Today we are going to talk about Amazon machine images. If you remember, I keep saying that you can start your instance from any image that is available in the Amazon community portal, that is the EC2 portal. And the question comes as, how does this images get added there, and who are these people who are adding those images, and how do they even create these images, that is golden images or copies of the VMs. So that is what we are going to look at today. The short form is AMI, that is Amazon Machine Image. That is what we are going to see what it has. Typically, an AMI is a template for the root volume of the instance. For example, it includes the operating system, most always, all the cases, and sometimes it will also have an application configured on top of the operating system. It could be any application that you wish to. There are AMIs available even for starting with a HTTP server and WordPress, Joomla, or even databases configured, all the way going up to SAP instances also. So if you are creating an AMI, you can have anything on top of your operating system. And AMI also has the launch permissions that control who can launch them. For example, you can make your AMI public or private. When you make it private, only you or whomever is associated with your account can launch instances based on your AMI. If you make it public, that means that once it is registered in the community and it is approved, your AMI will be available for the entire world to launch instances from. That is what it means on launching permissions. That is what it means when I say launch permissions that control which accounts can use the AMI. And also you can have some additional disks attached to it, predefined. You say, for example, your configuration in your environment needs an external disk or additional volume for running properly, then you can define those device mapping in the AMI itself. So whenever you start an instance from that AMI, it will try to find that particular EBS volume and try to attach it when you are running it. This is particularly useful when you're having application data stored outside your application or outside your AMI. So when something goes wrong, you can start a new instance and attach the data volume alone to the AMI, and you can continue the business instead of reconfiguring and remapping all the instances. So that is briefly what is an AMI is all about. There are three types of AMIs that is available in Amazon. That is Amazon maintained AMIs. That is Amazon itself pre-configures those Linux and Windows instances and patches them up and gives you the latest version of patches and security updates in those AMIs. Then we have the community-based AMIs. That is general people like you and me will create machine images and publish it for other people for using them. And there are sometimes people who create machine images and there is a charges associated with them for using those AMIs. And the place that Amazon allows these third-party community people to sell those images is called a marketplace. I'll show you which is a marketplace. You have already seen the marketplace. I'll show you where to find more in the marketplace. And the final one is your own machine images. For example, you have created a custom configuration and you wanted to reuse the custom configuration whenever you are trying to start an instance or an application. Then what you do is you go ahead and create your own machine images. So that is what is called as your own machine images. So typically the process is like this. You create your volume, as is the flowchart that is at the bottom. You create your template volume, that is you configure it, you create your instance, you customize it. For example, yesterday we saw an instance which is running with HTTP server with a small file as an index file. So you do something like that and you create an AMI from that and you register the AMI. That is when the image is available for reuse. So once you have registered the AMI, you have three options to proceed from there. That is, either you can launch multiple instances or again create another image of the image. that is like copying a golden copy into another golden copy, or you can decommission it, saying that you no longer need the AMI. This is about AMIs. Let us see how to do this in real world scenario. So that is what we are going to see as a demo right now. In this demo, I have listed two items. If you remember, yesterday itself, we started an instance with a role. We assigned Elastic IP and accessed the buckets, and also access it through the Amazon CLI also. So I'm going to spend time on the creating AMI part now, and let us go ahead and do that. So I have two instances here. This is a Windows instance I have quickly set up for testing, do some tests for one of our students. And this is the Linux instance that we started up yesterday. Let me bring it online, instance state, and then it is in stopped state. I'm going to bring it into a running state by clicking on this. Click on start. So we wait for some time. You see the pending state here. After some time, the checks are successful, and then it will turn into a running state, and then we will have our public IP assigned to it, and we can connect to it and do any processing on top of that. So let us give it a minute until the instance is available. Meanwhile, if anybody wants to check it out, if it is the same instance that we started yesterday, I have not made any modifications. If you type in that URL in the browser, you should be able to see the welcome to EC2 demo message. Let us try that. So if you can see my browser, you see it is the same instance that we are using. So I'm going to save time, and then I'm going to use the created image of this machine, so that we know that an HTTP server is running already and it is having this message printed out when we start a new instance from the image. So how do I create an image? I choose the server, I go to actions, and then I go to the image option that you see here, and then I click on create image. So it asks me certain questions about the image that I want to create. So it is asking me a very descriptive name. If you want to know, you can put your mouse cursor on this small eye icon. It will tell you what it is expecting here. So I'm going to say EC2 demo image. So in the description field, I'm going to say with HTTPD pre-configured. So that's it. And then if I want to add an additional volume, remember I told you if it needs an additional volume or anything, then I can create that volume and attach it to this image. Let us not complicate our step. And it is asking me whether I want to reboot my instance when an image is created. So what this basically means, if there is an I/O happening, that is input output or read-write operations happening, there might be difficulty for Amazon to create an image from an active instance. So generally, sometimes when you're creating a golden image, to maintain system integrity, it is recommended that you stop your instance and then you create a golden image. So let us go ahead and check this box, and I'm going to click on create image now. So it says create image request has been received, and any snapshots backing up can be managed from your snapshot screen. So that is all from us to do here. Let us close this window. And if you remember, reboot is almost like an instantaneous activity in Amazon. You just don't even notice the status change here from running to rebooting. So on the left hand side, you have this images. What can I call it? You can have a lot of twisties, and under the twisty images, you can see AMIs. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to see whether any images popped up here. So as I was expecting, there is an image that is getting created. You can see the status is pending, and the AMI name that we chose for our image is happening right now. So these are all the other details that is relevant to your image. and there are sometimes you will get an option to choose your architecture type and also your kernel type. I'll show that in a short while once it is ready. And as of now, you can see the visibility for my AMI is private. So that means that nobody else can use it right now. I can go to the permissions tab at the bottom and I can change the permissions on who can use this. So as of now, this says this image is currently private and it is asking me, do I want to make this image public? Then I go ahead and click this option. That means everybody can use this. Let us not publish an half-baked image, so let us choose it private only. If you have another account, let us say you are doing an image and you want to share it with your testing organization and they have a different AWS account, then you give their account number here and then click on add permissions. So let us, there is nothing for us to change here. So let us click on cancel and go back. And as usual, this is for tagging. I have reset my zoom size. I'm sorry about that. So I always like to create tags like you guys know already. So I'm going to create a tag which says the same as my description. So it takes a while for that to create the images. So meanwhile, I am just going to wait and see what else we can discuss here. So if you remember, I talked about registering your new AMI. So once our image is ready, what we are going to do is we are going to go to actions and I'm going to choose this option to register my AMI. If you remember the flowchart, I told you that you have two options once you create an image, that is deregistering and then registering and copying and making another image from this image. So if I choose this option, modify boot volume setting, it will ask me the question of how do I want the instances to be launched and whether it wants to be CLI, API or SDK. So that means that you can programmatically control who can launch my instances and how they are going to launch my instances. This is an advanced level. Where it is used is typically when you do a DevOps style provisioning of images and you want to start multiple images through your script or your application, then you use either a CLI or an API. Until then, you don't have to change these options. If you're just experimenting with creating machine images, just leave it as it is and let us go back to creating our image. So if you notice, the image is created and it is available for me. So I'm going to choose this option, register an AMI. So as I said, it is once again asking me what is the manifest, do I want to provide any details about this image, and if I want to store it in S3, I can have more data about it. I don't want to do any of that. I'm just going to give it as a default. Once again, I'm just going to say which HTTPD pre-configured. And remember, I told you the kernel ID, Linux, we are talking about a Linux image, so it is asking me a choice of Linux kernels that Amazon is giving me. This is para-virtualized grub kernel with hdisk 0 configured. The best option here is to choose default. Remember, I told you Amazon images are pre-installed and pre-configured with the security and patches. So it is always best to choose the default option. And if you are having a very highly optimized or an application which requires a particular type of kernel, then I would recommend you to read and then choose the best option that you need. If you are not in a need of a highly customized application, you don't have to change the kernel ID. Leave it as default. The same thing goes for your RAM disk also. If you change this option, you will have options to change in your RAM disk as well. But it is best always to go with the default because Amazon takes care of the patching and security headaches for us. So I'm going to click on register and it is going to, oh, did I make a mistake? Either image location. Where is my image location now? Wait a second. That manifest path is of course is missing. I'm just trying to find out what is the image path, what is it asking about. Just give me a moment. Uh, right, right. Now I understand what I was making. I mean, my AMI is already registered. That is why I'm getting an AMI ID. I cannot re-register the same AMI again and again. I'm sorry about that, guys. While I was goofing around, I've registered that. So anyway, that is how you register your new AMI when you create an image. So this is my AMI. I'm going to show you when you're launching instances where it appears. I'm not going to select this. I'm going to instances. Going to click on launch instance. Better to do that. I'm going to duplicate the tab so we can check the AMI ID. Let this field be this one. I'm going to choose my EC2 here. Let us close this meeting. So this is my image and this is my AMI ID. I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to show you where it is going to come helpful now. So here you see I have the quick start Amazon registered AMIs, and then I have my AMIs, and then the marketplace. Remember I told you where people try to customize their application and then try to sell it. This is the place where you try to do that. So if you are having the AMI ID of a particular application, or if you know the name of that application, as I showed you yesterday, you can search for that and try to launch an instance from that. Say for example MS SQL, if you try it, quite possibly you will find somebody having a pre-configured MS SQL instance available here. Or say for example, give me another example, Joomla. Joomla is another one that you quite often get it in community. That is marketplace, and then community is, this is mostly marketplace is for, you can see a price tag here, this is for 0 hours, and whereas this is for about 1 cent per hour or $75 per year. So that is the difference usually you get in AWS marketplace and community AMI. If you go to community AMI, quite a lot of these images are free of cost. There is a possibility that there might be some additional storage cost associated with them because the images are configured into bigger disks, but mostly the community AMIs are free of cost. Whereas when I go to my AMIs, I will be seeing my image. If you remember, I copied my machine image, I'm pasting it here, and if I have multiple images, I can do the search for that, and automatically Amazon will pick that. As you can see, I have only one image in my account and it is already available. So you can see the description that I chose there is available in my AMIs tab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, I'm going to launch an instance and see whether my HTTP server is available pre-configured in this instance. So let us go ahead and do that. I'm going to create a public IP so that we all can check it out. And if you remember, I'm not going to do I'm sorry, not this one, the user data field, which is below this. I'm not going to configure my HTTP instance or anything. It should come by default, and the role also should come by default. I'm not going to change that. Let us see if the role is also picked up when I'm picking the image. So I'm going to click on add storage. I'm going to change nothing here. So click on next. So I'm going to create a tag here which says name EC2 instance from AMI with HTTPD. So I'm going to click next. If you remember, I already have a security group which is having pre-configured port 22. I recently added a 3389 so that we can connect to a Windows instance also when we launch one. So let us choose that security group, go ahead and launch it, choose my private key, confirm that I have the private key and launch instances. So I have my already one instance running here with my HTTPD. So let us go ahead and see whether my new instance is also available now. So this is the original instance and this is the the bottom one is the original instance and the top one which says EC2 instance from AMI with pre-configured HTTPD that is available, that is in pending state. Let it finish booting up, then we can connect to it. Meanwhile, I'm just going to copy paste this URL so that you can check it out. Oh, I didn't copy it properly. Okay, you can see the previous URL and this URL are different, and you should be able to see the image now. If it takes a while, the HTTP server also needs to start. It takes some time. Okay, it is all, everything's working fine. You can see this was our original image, and we created a golden image of that and started an instance out of that, and everything is pre-configured and working smoothly. Let us connect to this server through our PuTTY and see our S3 access is also still there. So I'm just going to connect to my instance through SSH now. Okay, I'm going to edit this session. I'm going to type the IP address here. If you want to confirm, see the IP address 52.66.27.209. It is the same IP address here, 52.66.27.209. I'm going to leave the user ID same. I'm just going to confirm whether the key is the EC2 demo Mumbai key. Let it open that. Click on open. Going to double click it to launch the instance. Let it connect to it. I'm going to do sudo hyphen. Okay. So AWS S3 LS. Okay. One second. I just want to confirm what flavor of Red Hat we are running. Okay, great. Remember, I wanted to show you how to install AWS CLI. Let us go ahead and do that. Did we start this instance with EC2 role, guys? AWS role? Let me go ahead and confirm that once again from the browser. This is how you confirm any roles are associated with the server. If you click on this server and all the properties are at the bottom of it, and if you go down here, you can see IAM role, and the role is here. Apparently the role has not been copied over. I'm going to choose this one and see whether my role is copied. If you see, the role has not been copied. Okay, here. So it copies the configuration and not the privileges or permissions that you assigned with that server. So you can restart it with another privileges. So let us talk about the missing topic that yesterday I couldn't show you properly how to configure your AWS CLI from command line. I'm going to show you that right now. This is quickly another tutorial I wrote myself to get it fixed. Just going to get those commands so that we will try that in today's class. So I am in my Linux Red Hat instance, so we are good here. I'm just going to copy this command. Quickly I'm going to run one by one. I'm in root, so should not be a problem. Let me try to minimize this. Okay, great. it should in theory work. I'm just downloading the pip packages so I can install the pip package. Okay, pip should, let us install it. If Python 3 command is not working, let us try with the Python. That means Python 3 is not installed for me, so I'm going to install Python only. Okay, great. If I type pip hyphen version, I should be seeing something like that. As you can see here, I should be seeing an output like 8.1.2, and I can see the same something similar here. So what I do is I go ahead, you can see if Avo didn't work, you don't have Python 3, try the below command. So that is what I tried, pip get user and pip version. So let us go on to the next step. So this is for installing the AWS CLI. Remember I told you the path part. That is what we are going to do here extra today. Okay, and I'm going to export the path where it is installed. This is very important because this is what I missed yesterday and I was not able to access my AWS CLI command. So sourcing the path is nothing but logging in and logging out. My profile variables, whether it is Linux or Windows, every user has profile variables, and in my profile I have added this path now and I have refreshed my path also. So if I type AWS, it should theoretically work. Say for example here, if you remember at the beginning of the session, I tried AWS S3 ls and it gave me an error saying AWS command not found. So now if I type AWS, it gives me an option of help commands. So if I do AWS S3 ls, again it will tell me it is not able to access the S3 bucket because I have not given privileges. So you need to configure your credentials. So let us go ahead and use IAM users credentials. Remember an access key, security key we talked about. We need to use that, or we can use an IAM role for defining that. As I said, using access key and secure key is not the best way because this server will always carry the configuration when you create an image. So always use and role if you want to set up access to a third-party resource in AWS. So just choose this option, and I cannot attach a role directly, so the only option now that is left for us is to use the access key and access key and the secure key. One thing you need to remember is you cannot add a role once the server is started. Only when you are creating a new instance you can add a role. So let us go ahead, services IAM. It is taking a while. I thought today we'll spend time talking about EC2 auto-scaling, but AMI itself is taking time. Okay, I'm going to click on create an user, add an user. Test user is the user I'm going to create. I don't need an console access, so I'm just going to choose programmatic access. I'm going to click on next, and I'm going to attach a policy which gives me S3 access. So I'm choosing attach existing policy. As usual, I'm typing for S3 full access. I'm going to choose that, scroll down, click on review, and it is confirming me that everything is good, and then I'm going to say create user, and I'm going to carefully note down my user ID and password. I might have a problem doing AWS S3 command because Mumbai region doesn't use security properly. There is a particular way of request, but anyway we'll go ahead and try it. If it is not working, let us start an instance in Oregon region. Okay, this is what I wanted to do. Okay, now we have got our secret key and secure key. Let us copy this, and this is how you configure your AWS CLI command. Even if you do this in your local laptop, you need to do this. You need to type AWS space configure, and it will ask you your access key. Now I'm going to paste my access key here, and it is asking me my secret key. This procedure is same in Windows as well. There will be an Amazon CLI package that you need to install in your laptop or anything that you use, and then you need to run your AWS configure and put in these two values, and it's asking me a region. I'm going to say AP South 1, and I'm going to leave the default option none as of now. So if I do something like AWS S3 LS, okay, it's working great, guys. So you can see I just picked up my bucket details and showing me the results. If you see this command here, we just now executed. It says unable to locate credentials. You need to configure your credentials. Once you inputted these values, you can do anything on top of those buckets like S3 or I think this is the command to make bucket S3 test AMI bucket. Let us see if it works. The requested bucket, okay, that name is not unique, so I'm going to add some alphanumeric, so that is little unique. I'm going to test it now. Okay, again it is throwing an error because it is not a valid bucket. Just give me a random name, guys, so that we can try it out. Let us add some other alphanumeric. It should in theory work. An error occurred. It's an invalid bucket. The specified bucket is not valid. Okay. Anyway, what I wanted to show is you can run any commands and do command line processing from here. You just need to get the correct syntax and the correct name to get it working. Let us at least say if I can list this bucket. Okay, that is working. So that is how we provided a command. We created a machine image and we configured AWS CLI and accessed our buckets, and we retrieved objects, or we displayed objects. Retrieving is nothing but AWS S3CP, if I remember it correctly. And then source and destination sources, you give it like what is the bucket name? This is the bucket name and the object that you want to retrieve, and then you give a destination. So if you do ls-l, I should be able to see my logs downloaded from my bucket. So that is how you retrieve an image. And same way you can copy from local to remote as well. So that is about AMIs that I wanted to show. So far, are we good, guys? Okay, today we are going to start Windows instance from EC2, and we are also going to attempt to connect to the Windows instance from an RDP terminal. So let us go ahead and do that. Yes, I have started the recording for this session. Let us go ahead and do this. I am on the EC2 dashboard, and these are all the instances that I was using for different demo purposes earlier today. I have cleaned it up and deleted the unnecessary ones, and I have kept one running for doing some testing with autoscaling. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop this also, so that I don't incur unnecessary cost with this one. I'm going to click on stop. So let us go ahead and launch an instance. And the default Linux variants or Linux flavors are listed at the top. If you just scroll down to the bottom, you will see Windows 2016 base image available, and it is also eligible for free tier. So I'm going to select this option. Okay, and I'm going to stay with T2 Micro only because that is the cheapest and the free tier option for this instance. So I'm going to click on configure instance. It is absolutely the same way. There is in these steps there are no difference between starting an Windows instance or a Linux instance. And once again, I'm going to give a public IP. I'm not sure how this will be useful unless I start an IIS server which runs some instance of web application. I forgot the commands to run IIS, so I'm just going to give EC3 full access for this role. It is good to have a role. We can change the permissions later. You can leave this role empty as well. But I'm going to give a role so that we can change the permissions in the IAM policies later, because you cannot attach a role once the server starts. So let's add one role for some purpose which might be useful down the line. I'm not going to change anything else here, just leave everything as it is. I've not changed the VPC, I've not changed the subnet, I've just enabled public IP so we can connect to it or access it, and click on add storage. Again, defaults, nothing to be done. Click on tags. I'm going to add a tag which will help me to understand what is this instance about. EC2 Windows demo. I'm going to the Windows instance demo. I'm going to configure security group. If you remember, I have created, I am reusing a security group that I have created a few days back, and I have enabled RDP port in the security group so that I can connect to Windows instances also. 3389 is the default RDP port, and 22 is for SSH if I want to do something through SCP, WinSCP or SFTP. That is just there, we are not going to use it. This is what we need to know. So let us go ahead and launch. It is asking me to confirm all the details. I'm going to say all good, click on launch, and it is Amazon is saying, is this the security key you want to use? I'm going to say yes. I have the key value. I'm going to click on launch instances. So it is launching the instance and it is giving me this is the instance ID. I'm going to click on that, and when I click on it, if you notice, it starts searching my instances through the instance ID. If in case you know the instance ID, you can type it here. If you don't know, you remove this. All the instances will be listed out. But if you remember, we typed a tag name. You can search by tags here, by name tag. So let us say Windows. If I search for that, I should be able to find the two instances which are tagged as Windows. And to avoid any confusion, I shut down the other one, and the latest one that we started now is running. My apologies for that. I'm just going to ignore that for now. Okay, it is running. So how do I connect to my instance? That is the bigger question, right? So what I do is I'm just going to click on connect here. It gives me a nice tab which says, if you want to connect to my Windows, download this RDP file which has the URL. So I'm going to click on this download. And to get my password, I need to click on this button, and usually Amazon recommends to wait for about 3 to 4 minutes after your instance is started to generate the password, because it is still booting the server, and if you see here in the background it is doing some checks. Let us wait for some time so that the password is generated. If I click on this, sometimes it gives me a message saying wait for some more time. Yeah, you can see it here. Please wait 4 minutes after the launching the instance before you retrieve the auto-generated password. So I'm just going to close it. I'm just going to wait for some time until the server is available for me to use. So this is just a typical RDP session, pre-configured and stored as a profile, and it allows you to download it. If you have MSTSC, that is Terminal Services Client, then you can use that as well and use this URL and configure your security key also for connecting it. I would recommend you to use the downloaded RDP because it is pre-configured and you just need to input your password there. So I'm just waiting here until the Windows instance launches. So basically this is how you start an instance, connecting to it. We'll look into that now. Are you comfortable so far with how to start an instance, Madhuri?
Yes, Naveen, no problem.
Okay, so let us hope that we will get the connectivity part also fixed out in a short while. And one more thing, okay, let us not confuse that here. If I go to my AMIs tab, I will be able to see my AMIs here. I need to do a cleanup there as well because I created an image and that image is available here. I need to deregister and clean that. We will look into that later this session. Okay, I'm getting impatient. Let us go ahead and see whether Amazon is ready with the password. I'm just going to open a notepad file to store the password. Okay, when I click on that, it is asking me to upload my secret key so that Amazon can decrypt the password. So you say in order to decrypt the password, you will need to specify the path and you need to decrypt it. Okay, no problem. Thank you. I'm going to say this is my password file. If you remember, so I'm going to choose that, click on open. I'm going to say decrypt password. And the magic happens and it gives me the password and it says the user ID is administrator. So let me copy both of them, all these three details in case we need it. So I'm going to use the RDP file. If you want, you can download once again. I have already done that. So let us go ahead and click on that. And it is the usual Windows warning, unknown publisher, do you want to connect to it? You say, yes, I want to connect to this, I trust this computer, and it is trying to connect. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the password that was given to me. What is that?
Naveen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Where do you get this key, Naveen?
Which key?
This one for Windows. You entered the password, right?
Yeah. You are asking me how did I
Where
get the
did you get?
client prompt?
Yes, yes.
So you see this window now. Okay, let us do it once again. You go to click on connect
Okay. Hmm.
and you get this window saying connect your instance and you see this option says download RDP file. I'm going to click on this file. So it is downloading a file here. I'm going to click on this file now and it will open my terminal services client window.
Oh, here password.
I'm sorry?
Here password you enter, right? One password.
Yeah, that is after clicking on get password.
Okay, okay. Chosen one file, right? That password key for file something, no?
Yes, that is when I'm starting the server, it is asking me a key, remember?
Hmm.
You need to have a
Okay, okay.
key. You need to choose that.
Okay,
So if you go to your
okay,
account in key pairs, for example, this is the key I'm
okay.
using for you, your guys demo, EC2 demo key, and I'm using that
Uh-huh.
private file which is locally stored to decrypt the password. And I'm facing,
Okay, okay. Keep a password there. It's not a problem, right?
yeah. So I'm using the usual error message that quite often happens with the Windows instances. Or what happens is a lot of people try to connect with these IP addresses. So
Okay.
not this one, Control J. So this is the RDP file. I'm going to click on the RDP file.
Okay.
If I even give my administrator password, it says too many attempts to log in, wait for some time because uh, these IP addresses are all continuously attacked and Amazon tries to defend it. As a security precaution, the user account has been locked because there are too many attempts. Wait for a while before you can try again. So you just need to start the server, wait for some time so that you can try again. So that the password will be, I mean, the account will be reset so you can connect to it. But this is how basically you connect to a Windows server. So let us wait for some time while this settles down. Let us go back and check our IAM issues and come back to this. We'll let it run for some time. Okay. So let us talk about
Okay, okay.
IAM doubts.